Dear students, good morning. ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಶುಭೋದಯ ಹಾಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. I am Sumana SS, working as selection grade lecturer at SBRR Mahajana PU College, Jayalakshmipuram, Mysore. I have 30 years teaching experience. First of all, I congratulate you all for selecting economics as one of the optional subjects, because economics is considered as queen of social sciences. This itself indicates that economics is so important, and it is the only subject which is included in the list of Nobel Prize. So, I am proud to be an economics lecturer. Students, let us start the chapter, that is the 6th chapter, Rural Development. In your syllabus, it is the 6th chapter. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. Why we have to study rural development? Because you know that India is a land of villages, and most of the people live in villages or rural areas. So, the development of economic development of India depends on rural development. So, we have to develop rural areas. So, that is why we have to study rural development under the part 2, that is Indian economic development. That means, to develop Indian economy, rural development is very important and very significant, and it is challenging for the government also. So, now under this chapter we have 7 important topics. These are first one introduction, second one what is rural development, third one credit and marketing in rural areas, fourth one agricultural market system, fifth one is diversification into productive activities, and the sixth one is sustainable development and organic farming. Last one is conclusion. Now, first we will take up introduction, and you know that each and every chapter or subject has its own introduction. So, here introduction for this rural development is, you know that I already told you India is a land of villages, and majority of the people in rural areas live in village, and their basic occupation is agriculture. The agriculture is the main livelihood or source of livelihood. So, here 2/3 of population in India depend on agriculture, and 1/3 of people are poor in rural areas. So, what is here we come across the word poor or poverty. What do you mean by poor? Whom do you call it as poor? Poor refers to those people who are denied of, it is here, who are denied of basic necessities of life. Then which are the basic necessities of life? Basic necessities of life are food, clothing, shelter, health and education. So, these are all the basic necessities of life, and if people are denied of these basic necessities of life, we call them as poor. Then comes what is rural development. So, we have to, already I told you that for the development of Indian economy, the development of rural areas is very important. Then what is rural development? That is, what is the meaning of rural development? Rural development means, you know, it is a very comprehensive term. It refers to improvement of socio-economic life of rural people by providing all basic infrastructure and enable them to engage in productive activities. It is very, very important. You know that people are engaged in agricultural activities mainly, that is the basic occupation of rural development. Nowadays you know that they are migrating from rural areas to urban areas. Why? There are two reasons. One is, you know, agricultural seasonal, and which results in disguised and unemployment, and you know, seasonal unemployment. So we have to create more jobs. If we generate more jobs and provide infrastructural facilities on par with the urban centers, then we can avoid migration of people, rural people or youths from rural areas to the urban areas. So for that reason, rural development is necessary. So under rural development, we have to discuss the 5 points. These are all the sub points here. These are we have to develop these things. That is, first one is development of human resources. Development of human resources. Then second one is land reforms. Third one is development of productive sources of each locality, and D is development of infrastructure, and E is special measures for alleviation or eradication of poverty. These are the 5 areas which are challenging and need fresh initiation of rural development. Government has to focus on these things, on these aspects. Okay. So among these, first one is development of human resources. So development, these are all the, we can call it as major problems we are facing in rural areas. So development of human resource means, you know that human resource means it is nothing but people. People are considered as resource, and India is rich in human resource. The thing is, these resources or people are not properly trained and they are not educated. So development of human resource here refers to the improvement in literacy, then female literacy, especially the female literacy, education, skill development, better access to public health, sanitation and water supply. These are all the things need to be developed for the development of human resources. We have to provide, that is, the government has to provide all these basic facilities in order to develop human resource in our country. So here I want to quote Mahatma Gandhi ji, you know, is a father of nation. So he said that real progress of India did not mean simply the growth and expansion of industrial urban centers, but mainly the development of villages. See, this quoting of Mahatma Gandhi ji itself indicates that how important the rural development is. So under this, first we have to develop the human resource. So for the development of human resources, we have to provide education, and then we have to train them, and we have to make them access to public health, sanitation and water supply. So these are all the things comes under development of human resource. Once we develop human resource, then we can, which results in the development of rural areas. We can utilize these developed resources for productive purposes. Next comes land reform. The second one is land reforms. So what are the major objectives of land reforms? So there are 3 main objectives. One is transfer of ownership from landlord to the tenants. Second one is abolition of obscene landlordism and other measures. And then third one is exploitation of tenants by the landlords and fixing fair prices. So next one is under rural development, the third important point is development of productive resources of each locality. You know that there are plenty of resources available in rural areas. For the proper utilization of these local resources, we have to start cottage and small scale industries, because these cottage and small scale industries require less capital and they are labor intensive in nature. What do you mean by labor intensive? Labor intensive means which require more labor than capital. So, in our country there is lack of capital and laborers are more. So, surplus labor can be utilized if we start cottage and rural industries, small scale industries in rural areas. So, by starting these industries, we can utilize proper exploitation of rural resources is possible, and thereby we can provide employment opportunities to the unemployed rural youths and rural people, and they will get better income and they lead better life, so that we can improve the standard of living of the rural people on par with the urban people. Then next is, the fourth one under rural development is, fourth point, that is development of infrastructural facilities. So, infrastructural facilities like electricity, irrigation, transportation, marketing, rural housing, then agricultural research and expansion of these research facilities to the rural areas, and construction of, particularly the construction of roads. So, we must have Pakka roads, not Kacha roads. You know that some of you are come from the villages and rural areas, you have the background of rural area, and you know that most of the village roads are not Pakka roads, they are Kacha roads, they are not all weather roads, because during the rainy season it is very difficult for the farmers to carry their agricultural products to the urban areas. So, we have to construct roads which connects villages or rural areas to the nearby highways. Then only the farmers can carry their or transport their agricultural commodities to the urban marketing centers, and that will fetch them better income. Then fifth point under rural development itself is, the fifth and the last point is special measures for poverty alleviation. What do you mean by alleviation of poverty? Poverty alleviation means it is eradication of poverty. So, that is a poverty. So, poverty is the third chapter in your syllabus, and poverty is a great threat for economic development in our country. So, that should be eradicated. After the independence, our government has introduced so many poverty eradication programs. Now, I will mention only few, because you have studied all those poverty eradication programs under the chapter poverty. So, a separate chapter is there in your syllabus. So, they are REGP and SGSY and wage employment, etc. So, REGP means Rural Employment Generation Program. Then SGSY means Swarna Jayanti Grama Swarojgar Yojana, Rural Employment Guarantee Program, Swarna Jayanti Grama Swarojgar Yojana, and wage employment, and other measures are taken by the government to eradicate poverty and for the improvement of the weaker section of the rural people and providing employment opportunities. Next, We will move on to the third point, main point in this chapter, that is credit and marketing in rural areas. Credit and marketing in rural areas. This is very, very important, because to carry on any activity, economic activity, not only agriculture, maybe industrial or commercial, whatever it may be, to carry on any economic activity, I think you know the meaning of economic activity. Economic activity means any activity which is undertaken for generating income or to earn income. So, credit is very, very essential. Without credit, it is not possible to undertake any economic activity. So, agriculture is the basic activity and the farmers require credit facility, and timely and adequate, that is adequate means sufficient credit is necessary, and that too it should be available at reasonable prices to the farmers. So, then next is under this, what is rural credit? Rural credit means it is nothing but credit available for the farmers for both agricultural and non-agricultural activities. Here you know that as the time gestation for crop sowing and realizing the income after production is long. So, in the meantime, the farmers require money for two purposes. They are called as, these purposes are called two types of agricultural credit. These two purposes are, one, productive purposes, productive or agricultural. Agricultural purposes, and non-productive or non-agricultural, productive and non-productive purposes. So, the farmers require credit for two purposes. One is productive, it is also known as agricultural purpose, and another one is non-productive or non-agricultural purpose. So, the farmers require credit or loans for two purposes. One is productive purpose, another one is non-productive purpose. Productive purpose, farmers take loans for purchasing land, additional land, and purchase of seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, etc., and digging of wells and fencing the farmland, etc. Then they also require loan for non-productive activities, which include celebration of marriages, births, deaths, and for family expenses. Then under this we have discussed, under credit we have discussed two types of, these are the two types of credits, and then next is sources of agricultural finance. Which are the sources of agricultural finance? There are two types of sources, or there are two sources of agricultural finance. One is institutional and another one is non-institutional. Institutional and non-institutional. Non-institutional finance is other than institution. That means it includes money lenders, landlords, zamindars, and traders. They give loans to the farmers. At the time of independence and before independence, they were playing a very major role in agricultural finance, because there were not any banks at that time. So, they used to give loans to the farmers. But the thing is, they exploited the farmers by charging high rate of interest and manipulating the accounts to keep them in debt trap, to keep them in debt trap. Here in this point, I want to quote, Indian farmer born in debt, lives in debt and dies in debt. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಭಾರತದ ಒಬ್ಬ ರೈತ ಹೇಗಿತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಬರಕ್ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಭಾರತದ ರೈತ ಸಾಲದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಹುಟ್ಟಿ ಸಾಲದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಬೆಳೆದು ಸಾಲದಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಸಾಯುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಲಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಜಮೀನ್ದಾರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಸಾಲವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಆ ಸಾಲವನ್ನ ಅವರು ಹಿಂದಿರುಗಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ, ಯಾಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಒಂದು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ, ಸಾಲದ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಮೋರ್ ಓವರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇಲಿಟ್ರೇಟ್. ವೈ they keep them in debt trap? Because the main problem is most of them are poor and it is inevitable for them to take loans from the zamindars and landlords because other institutional facilities were not there. So that's the reason, and moreover they are illiterate. So that is this. Then, so this is it. They exploit the farmers. So after the emergence of banking system, the importance of these landlords, zamindars, that is non-institutional, has decreased. Their importance has decreased. Earlier they used to play a very important role, but now their importance is decreased with the emergence of modern banking system. And these banks comes under institutional finance. So the year 1969 is very, very important. (1969) is very important because in the year 1969, 14 major commercial banks were nationalized. Nationalization of banks means it is nothing but takeover of the banks by the government, central government. So 14 for the first time. That doesn't mean that there were no banks before independence. At the time and before independence, there were banks, but they were under private sector. No public sector bank was there. So in the year 1969, the government nationalized 14 major commercial banks in order to channelize the funds for agriculture and rural development and the other various purposes. Because before the nationalization, these banks provide loans only for commercial purposes, not for other purposes, neither for agricultural development nor for industrial development or other purpose, only for commercial. That's why they were called as commercial banks. Later on, they were taken over by the government in the year 1969. After the nationalization, they started giving funds for various economic activities. Particularly, they are playing a very important role in the field of agricultural finance. So I want to mention some of the institutional sources of finance. They are CBS, that is commercial banks, land development banks, cooperative societies, and RRBs, that is CBS means commercial banks, RRBs, regional rural banks, then cooperative societies, land development banks, etc. And in the year 1982, in 1982, it is very important, NABARD was set up. NABARD was established. NABARD, N-A-B-A-R-D. What is the expansion of NABARD? NABARD means National, N stands for National, A is Agricultural, Bank, B is Banking, Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. National, the expansion is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. The name of the bank itself indicates that it is meant for providing loans or credit facilities to the agricultural field or for agricultural activities and for the development of rural areas. So, for that purpose, it was established in the year 1982. Thereafterwards, farmers are getting better loan and credit, they will get the loans for agricultural and non-agricultural purposes, etc. The main drawback of these banks, actually it is good, they are providing loans at reasonable rate of interest, at low rate of interest to the rural development and for farmers, etc. The main drawback is, there are two main drawbacks or defects of banking system. One is poor recovery, they cannot recover the loans, it is very difficult for them to recover the loans, and delay in sanctioning of loans. Sanctioning of loans in time is essential for the farmers, but there is a procedural delay in sanctioning of loans under banking system. These two are the defects of this banking system. Then next comes in rural credit, SHGs. SHGs. It is very, very important. It is a recent concept. What is the expansion of SHGs? Self-help groups. That is, the people of rural area, small and especially small and marginal farmers, they join together and they make a group, and they become the members of SHGs and they contribute some fund to the SHGs. So, this accumulated money is used to lend to the farmers for agricultural purposes or for productive activities. And they are playing a very important role nowadays in recent years, because they give loans to the farmers at low rate of interest or at reasonable rate of interest. Another thing is, the farmers or the members of these SHGs, they can repay the loan in installments. So, that is the thing. They will get the loans at reasonable rates, at the same time they can repay the loan in small amounts, in installments. So, this is it. And they help, particularly these SHGs help the rural women and result in the women empowerment. But the thing is, one of the major drawback of this SHGs is, they take farmers or the members of the SHGs, they take loan, but they are not using it for productive purposes. Some of them, they are not using it for productive purposes, they mainly use it for consumption. So, that is the main drawback. So, in case if all the members use the loans taken from SHGs for productive purposes, that will generate income. But it is not possible, because they are using, some of them are using it for consumption purpose. So, this is about credit and marketing in rural areas. And the last topic is agricultural marketing system. So, you know that growing crops is not only important, the marketing of them is very, very important. Agricultural marketing play a very important and very significant role. So here, what is the meaning of agricultural market? It is the process that involves the assembling of agricultural commodities, grading them, standardizing, storing, processing, transport and distribution of agricultural product within the country and across the nation is very, very important. So that is known as agricultural marketing. So before independence and at the time of independence, our agricultural marketing has certain drawbacks, shortcomings. What are these drawbacks of agricultural marketing? So first one is, there are some drawbacks. The first and the foremost is lack of grading and standardization. You know, all goods are not in same quality. Quality differs from commodity to commodity, or same commodity, the quality is, there is a difference of quality. So according to quality, on the basis of quality, they have to be graded. So then only the farmers will get better income. So that facility was not there before independence. So because of that, farmers are getting very low prices for their products. Next one is exploitation of middlemen. Middlemen exploit the farmers by purchasing at low prices from the farmers and selling it to the urban markets at higher prices and get maximum profit. So they access middlemen between the producers, that is farmers, and the final consumers. Then next one is lack of storage or warehouse facility. We don't have good and scientific storage facilities before independence. But now also, whatever the storage facilities we are having is not sufficient due to the growing demands of the farmers. So it is said that nearly 10 to 20% of the agricultural produce is eaten by rodents, rats, rodents, etc. So due to lack of storage facilities, they cannot keep their products and they cannot in warehouse, and they cannot wait till they get better prices in the market. It's not possible for them to wait. So they will sell soon after the production, they sell it in the rural areas itself at low prices. Then lack of transport facilities. You know, the progress of agriculture field depends on good network of transport, because the agricultural products are there in rural areas. They are available in rural areas. They are produced in rural areas. But the market for these commodities are in urban areas. So for the transportation of agricultural commodities to the rural area, from the rural areas to the urban areas, a good network of transport is essential. But what we are having, we don't have good network of transport. Most of the roads in rural areas, as in the beginning itself I told you that, most of the rural roads are kacha roads. They are not all weather roads. They cannot, the farmers cannot carry their goods during rainy season. It is very difficult for the farmers to carry their agricultural products from their own rural area to the urban centers. So that's why because of lack of transport system, they have to sell their goods in their village itself or in their rural areas itself, and at low price. So next is lack of market information. They don't have market information, that is market knowledge. earlier, before independence and at the time of independence. Now it is possible, but earlier it was not possible because majority of the farmers are illiterate and they are living in rural areas and they don't have market information. Market information means information regarding the prices of food crops and the demand for their food crops and the supply of food crops. In case if they have good information about these things, that is prices of agricultural commodities, demand for agricultural commodities and supply of agricultural commodities, definitely they will get better prices. But now there is a little development, now they can access, this is mainly because of the illiteracy of the people or the farmers. But now farmers are becoming educated and now there are so many facilities and mass media are available to them. Now there is a little change. Now farmers are aware of the prices for their goods in the market because every day they will show it in the TVs, in magazines, they can read it in the magazines because ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಧಾರಣೆ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಅವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಟಿವಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಸ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಟಿವಿಗಳಾಗ್ಬೋದು, ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಈಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದೆಮ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಲಿಟ್ರೇಟ್ಸ್ and they don't have time to watch TVs, etc. They are busy with their, that too particularly in harvest season and all, they are very busy with their agricultural activities. So that is another, because of this, that is lack of market information, they are not getting better prices for their food crops. Then unfair practices. You know, the middlemen and traders, they use faulty weights and measures and exploit the farmers and they take more commissions from the farmers, etc. So then next is, these are all the defects or drawbacks of agricultural marketing in India. Then if we have a drawback, we have to rectify it. We have to overcome the drawbacks. How to overcome the drawbacks? To overcome the drawbacks of agricultural marketing, the government has implemented several measures. So these measures are organization. The first point under drawback of agricultural marketing is standardization and organization and standardization. So first, the government is organizing the regulated markets and in order to protect the poor farmers. In regulated markets, the farmers get better prices for their crops and then, but the regulated markets what we are having is not sufficient. More markets should be created in several areas, particularly in rural areas also. Then next one is provision for physical infrastructure. You know what is infrastructure? I am using this word here so many times. Then what is the meaning of infrastructure? Means it is the facilities, all facilities, basic facilities which is required by the farmers. They include roadways, railways, warehouses, godowns, cold storage facility and processing units to store their commodities. If they have excess or surplus crop, then they can store it in warehouses and they can wait for better prices. Then when they get the better prices, they can sell the products and get good income. But that is not there. So these are all physical infrastructural facilities. Next is establishment of cooperative marketing. That is very important. So the government has encouraged the people to start cooperative market in various fields. So we can give the example of milk cooperative of Gujarat. They have succeeded in that. And next is other measures. What are the other measures? Other measures includes MSP, assurance of MSP. What is the meaning of MSP? MSP means ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್, ಬೆಂಬಲ ಬೆಲೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ವೈ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಇಸ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್? ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, you know that the prices of agricultural products are subject to more fluctuation than the prices of industrial products. So, minimum support price is necessary because when there is good monsoon and good harvest, the farmers, there is surplus crop, and then the prices of commodities, agricultural commodities will decrease. So that's why in order to support the poor farmers, the government has to assure minimum support prices so that they will get the better price for their, at least reasonable price for their commodities. ಯಾಕೆ ಬೆಂಬಲ ಬೆಲೆ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಟಿವಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ರೈತರು ಚಳುವಳಿ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನ, ನಮಗೆ ಬೆಂಬಲ ಬೆಲೆಯನ್ನ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ವೈ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ದೇ ಶುಡ್ ಗೆಟ್ ದ ರೀಸನಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೇರ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಟಿವಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಲ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಂಗೆ ಕೃಷಿ ಸರಕುಗಳೇನಿರುತ್ತೋ ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅದರ ಬೆಲೆಗಳು ಬೇರೆ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಬೆಲೆಗಳಿಗಿಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಿಂದ ಯಾವಾಗ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮಳೆ ಬೆಳೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ, ಬೆಳೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ, ಅವಾಗ ಬೆಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡತ್ತೆ. ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದಾಗ ನಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ರೈತರಿಗೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಬೆಂಬಲ ಬೆಲೆಯನ್ನ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಬೆಳೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೋ ಅಷ್ಟಾದ್ರೂ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈ ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಅಶ್ಯೂರ್ minimum support prices for the farmers. Next one is maintenance of buffer stock of wheat and rice by Food Corporation of India. So here FCI. FCI means Food Corporation of India. Whenever there is buffer stock of wheat and rice, this Food Corporation of India has to purchase it from the farmers, because if the farmers sell it soon after the harvest, if there is surplus crop, then they won't get better price. They have to sell it at low price. Instead of that, if the Food Corporation of India purchase the buffer stock of wheat and rice from the farmers, then they will get better price, the farmers, and this buffer stock will be distributed to the poor people at reasonable price through PDS. PDS means public distribution system to the poor people. So these are all the topics I have covered today, and I hope you have understood all these points. I covered only 4 points out of 7, and other 3 I will explain it in my next session. Thank you.